Hello, welcome everyone. On behalf of Walkerscott and the Cloud Collective, I'd like to welcome all of you to our nonprofit focused webinar co-organized with Microsoft's Tech for Social Impact team and Dicadata. We'll give attendees, say, 2 to 3 minutes before kicking things off. Please note that this webinar is being recorded. We have a 10 minutes Q&A session at the end, but if you have any questions, you can add them to the chat and we can answer at an appropriate time as we go as well. Okay, let's get started. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation and the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, traditional custodians of the lands where my Australia-based colleagues are located today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. In recognition that we're a trans-Tasman organization, I take this opportunity to acknowledge Maori as Tangata Whenua in Aotearoa, New Zealand as well. A quick view of the agenda for today. We'll kick things off with introductions and a brief overview to the Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit. We'll then jump into a deep dive demo of the end-to-end Microsoft Cloud and Klevr grants solution. And then, as I said, we've left 10 minutes at the end to talk through any open questions that you might have. I suppose I'd like to start off with a brief overview about ourselves. I'm from Walkerscott. We're the business applications arm of a collective called the Cloud Collective. We're a strategic alliance of 4 leading Microsoft partners delivering solutions across the 3 Microsoft clouds. That's Azure, Microsoft 365, as well as Dynamics. So we provide the in-depth expertise of a boutique agency, but with the broad knowledge and muscle of a GSI, and have a presence across both Australia as well as New Zealand. Why this is important to raise is as a collective, we have a deep desire to partner with organizations such as the ones you see on the slide with a long-term perspective. We help realize value quickly on their digital transformation program through industry-focused IP and the offerings that each of the partners within the Cloud Collective bring with us. One such solution that we'll go into in depth today is Klevr Grants and Portals, developed by Walkerscott on the Microsoft Cloud Platform. This one's used not just by our not-for-profit clients, but many government agencies that run grants programs distributing hundreds of millions of dollars in the healthcare, community development, independent film sectors, and more. So on that note, I'd like to introduce your presenters for the day. I'm joined by my colleague Luke Franklin, who's the practice lead for Dynamics 365, Microsoft's business applications platform. Kicking things off, though, today is Karan Singh from Microsoft. Karan is a technical specialist in the Tech for Social Impact team and brings deep insights into Microsoft's investments into the not-for-profit sector. Once Karan has provided his overview and provided those insights on the new functionality that's available today for you to leverage, Luke will drive the bulk of today's session with the deep dive. Over to you, Karan. Karan, I think you're on mute. I've just given you the ability to unmute yourself as well as turn on your video.
Hey, Ron. Sorry about that.
There you go.
Hey, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. As Farid mentioned, I'm a technical specialist at Microsoft, and I cover business applications. And I'm looking forward to showing you a bit more into the new features coming with fundraising and engagement. As the slide shows you, at Microsoft, we want to empower your organization to achieve more, to be able to do more with what you have. And we want you to have the best experience as well with the products and with your constituents. So that's the main message there. We also have made significant investments in the not-for-profit sector as well. So for example, we do discounted software and services, and last year it totaled up to around 3.8 billion, which is a great number. And also we have a giving culture within the organization as well. So for example, people within the organization donated around $250 million, which is really good. And also we've reached out to around 325K not-for-profits using our services as well in technology. So we want to make sure that we democratize technology for all non-profits around the world to use it, and especially AI as well. We've seen a lot of different challenges across the sector. So for example, staffing, donor retention, even being able to create personalized communication as well, online giving, increased time efficiency as well. We've seen a lot of different things around here, and we want to make sure that we give you the tools and the capability to address some of these concerns and challenges across the industry. I know, for example, staffing is already being addressed through different AI techniques that's coming through the products. So we've already seen impact with a lot of organizations being able to leverage AI for their staff to be able to do more and get through more productivity throughout their day. So it helps them focus on more stuff they want to focus on, like create more impact through their work. The nonprofit vision, this is to show you a bit of a picture of how we want to give you a centralized platform for your nonprofit. So, moving from fundraising to also moving to the back end operations as well in finance and operations, and also leveraging whatever the data you get in fundraising to be able to perform marketing operations as well, which is something that is natively built into the product. Very quickly, I just wanted to highlight a few cool AI features coming to they already are GA actually, so you're able to use them within fundraising and engagement. One is the fundraising performance dashboard. So this is actually a Power BI dashboard that you can use as a template to get some analytics around your fundraising performance. And then you can also connect your fundraising and engagement data model to this Power BI report. So you can use that and get some really cool insights into your data. Next up, we have the likelihood to donate. This is a really cool feature that's come, it made GA, I think, last year, December. So yeah, so basically what it does is you can go ahead and, we've got a video here that Fred's jumped to. So basically, I'm going to show you a little bit of the look and feel of how it looks within the application. So for example, you now have a giving model view within the app. You can go into that giving model view and see a category for each contact. So this is going to load up here and show you. So you can actually go ahead and see, what's a category of the likelihood to donate. So for example, Aaron Gonzalez is most likely to donate. So you can go ahead and click into his contact view. You can see the reasons why they're most likely to donate on the right-hand side. So for example, you can see they're likely to donate because they've got high donation frequency, their communication preferences, and also the events they've attended with the organization. It's also going to show you how someone, for example, is not likely to donate, which is Abigail. So she is not likely to donate because she has a few different things around address, age, and donation residency. And so this custom model that's been built for this is using different demographic information. It uses information around events attended, communication preferences, and stuff like that. So I can show you, I've got a document of showing you the different fields it looks at and gets that data from to be able to build that category for you. The other cool thing is that with this, it helps give you that next level of reporting. So you can go ahead and then build reports on who is likely to donate and who's not, which gives you the next level of building rich segmentation, which is going to jump into really quickly. So you can go ahead and build different reporting with that data. I think, you can separate the data to be, you can only show contacts that are, show every contact that's not likely to donate or everyone that is likely to donate. So here, I think is just going to show you the primary destination, and then it's going to go ahead and filter out all the people that's not likely to donate. Yeah. And then the cool thing is, once you've actually built this this row, you can actually go ahead and create a segmentation within customer insights, which then acts as a live segment audience for you within customer insights. So then you can go ahead and perform donation campaigns against this category of people. So go ahead and build that right into customer insights. And the cool thing is this segmentation will be live. So any new contacts that get added to the database and you run that model on them, it's going to automatically add them to this segmentation as well. So you get that data right there in real time. So then, yeah, you can go ahead and perform real-time marketing on those contacts. And this is just also showing you how because you need sales enterprise to get fundraising engagement. With sales enterprise, you actually get some standard Copilot capability there as well in Outlook, Teams, and also the application, the sales application itself. So you do get some Copilot add-ons as well with the licensing, which is really cool, and you can leverage that right away.
Thanks, Karan. I think that's really compelling. A lot of our customers actually now have started leveraging Sales Copilot as well, because it's made available with their Dynamics licensing, and certainly helps drive adoption, within the Dynamics applications itself.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot, Karan. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we hand over to Luke?
No, I'm just happy to see everybody on the call, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing as well the demonstration that Luke's going to do. Thanks for also having me on as well, Walkerscott.
I'd love to have you join us, mate. Luke, over to you.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Karen. Great to see familiar names and I think still the presentation from Fareed in just a second and start to give you a bit of a demo of some components that make up our fundraising engagement through to Klevr grant scenario. I'll add on this slide again. This is the slide that Karen presented at the start. Just drop back one, please. Sorry. This is the slide Karen presented at the start. I really like this slide because it shows the breadth of the nonprofit vision, and it shows we can pull into a single place to provide an end-to-end scenario, not just through fundraising, but into how we market those campaigns, the finance activity that supports the fundraising initiatives, and how we deliver the campaign programs as well. So we're talking things like volunteer management and project operations. Our webinar today is going to focus on that top left quarter fundraising component. We're going to look at a few key parts of that solution, and then how your fundraising activity can flow into our Klevr grants and Klevr portal solution. If you want to move on forward with Reed. This slide gives you a bit of an overview of our grants application. We support two different sides to a contestable fund process. We have a grant seeking side. So this is all about you guys and organizations going out to identify funding opportunities to bring in revenue. We have functionality in here to help you put together a bid and secure the funding, to manage your funding agreements that you have with organizations, and then to meet any reporting requirements that you might have. And on the right-hand side, we have our grants making process. So this is how you then distribute the funding that you receive in, either via fundraising engagement and donations and pledges, or via funding that you've received through the grant seeking side. So it gives you the ability to announce funds, to create application rounds, to receive and assess applications, award contracts or funding agreements, and also manage and monitor reporting outcomes that you require from applicants that you're providing funding to. At the top of this and sitting over the top of your entire Dynamics ecosystem can be a self-service portal, which we'll look at today as well. And at the bottom is the ability to integrate any of these solutions into a financial application, such as Business Central and Finance and Operations. And the last slide I'll show is just some of the personas that we're going to be talking about as we go through this session. So we have our fundraiser, who facilitates constituent management and executes on fundraising. We have our grants manager. We have our program leader. And finally, we have our applicant or our grant awardee who we've awarded the funding to. So these are some of the personas that we'll touch on as we go through the demo today. I'm going to steal the screen from you, Fareed. And I'll just give that a second to share. So I'm going to start in fundraising and engagement. So that's the application you can see on screen at the moment. When I open my fundraising and engagement application, I land on a dashboard. This gives me an overview of what's happening within the application. I've got some nice metrics on here. I can see active transactions. I can see revenue by campaign goals. I can see some information about gifts received and the different methods that we received the gift in. And I can see things based on total gifts received by years and different recurring payment schedule information. So dashboards within Dynamics give you a nice snapshot. The fundraising engagement application has a whole bunch of different areas. We have the ability to develop and set up campaigns, appeals, packages. We have the ability to manage gifts, so donations, pledges, donation schedules. We can create and manage events within fundraising and engagement, as well as the cost associated to those events and the revenue that we've received in from running the events. And we've got some reporting and configuration areas. For this session today, we're just going to look at the fundraising area, and we're going to drop straight down into our campaigns. And we're going to have a look at a scholarship campaign that we've created. And we can see on our scholarship campaign that we can start to categorize the campaign. We can give the campaign a type, and we can give a primary designation, which is basically a way to say how we're going to apply the money that we've received and how we're going to use the money. We've given ourselves a campaign target, and I can start to track some values as we receive donations into this campaign. So I can see a total received revenue to date. If I jump to my performance tab, I can then start to see some more detailed information. How much have we received into the campaign via registrations? How many registrations have we sold? How much have we received via sponsorships, via product sales? My total donations we've received in. So this gives me a nice snapshot of how the campaign is performing. I can see a donor breakdown. So I can see the donor, the amount that they donated. And then if I can actually go and see a complete breakdown of transactions if I wanted to associate it to this campaign. So what did we receive through donations versus what did we receive through ticket sales if there's an event, or through sponsorships. So this is a primary way to create a container to receive revenue in through fundraising activities. Now what we're going to do is we're going to switch applications to our Klevr grants application, and we're going to see how we can then use that money received in to create a fund and distribute money back out again. So I'm going to switch my application from fundraising and engagement to our Klevr grants application. What's important to note here is that all of these applications are what live within my Dynamics ecosystem. And all of these applications share the same data source. So even though I'm going to switch from fundraising and engagement to Klevr grants, all the data that lives within fundraising and engagement is available for me across these applications and across the breadth of your Dynamics ecosystem. So there's no syncing of data or integration of data between applications. They all share the same data source. Oops. Little Teams thing keeps blocking my tab, sorry. So this is our Klevr Grants application. This is built by Walkerscott, but it's built within the Dynamics and the Power Platform, which is why it looks and feels exactly like other Dynamics applications. We have a common user interface. We're going to drop down in our grants application to our funds area. And I've created a 2023 Graduate Scholarships Fund. And if we look at this fund, we can see that we are making available about $127,000 to support graduate scholarships. And we have a start and an end date or a term that the fund is going to run for. If I jump across to my fund sources tab, we can see how we've made this funding money available. So I've taken just over $33,000 from my scholarships campaign from fundraising and engagement and applied it to this fund. I've also taken another $80,000 from a general annual campaign. And I had $10,000 left over from 2022's Graduate Scholarships Fund, which I've carried over into this fund. So we can see that we can pull money from numerous different sources and apply it to a fund to create a single pot of money that we can then distribute out as people apply. So this is how we create a fund within our grants application. I'm now just going to change tab and have a look at the third component of this solution, which is our Klevr portal. So our portal is a web-based interface that allows external stakeholders or external applicants or customers to interact with your Dynamics environment. The portal product that we've built is solution agnostic. The one that you're seeing at the moment is configured for Klevr Grants, but the portal can be used across any Dynamics application. And we can use the same portal to connect to different applications as well, and we can define security roles and user permissions to dictate what they can and can't see. So I'm logged into the portal at the moment as an applicant, which means that I see things like apply for funding and my funding applications and any contracts and milestones that have been awarded. If I go to apply for funding, we can see my 2023 Graduate Scholarship Fund that we created inside Klevr Grants is now published and available for applicants to apply to. We can open this fund and we can see some information about it. This is displaying information and data directly from Dynamics. And then I can scroll down to the fund and see my applications that I've made to this fund. And if I open an application, we get a process flow across the top. So I can see that for this particular scenario, the stages are to create a draft application, submit that application, and then be indicated whether the application has been accepted or not. I can see some information about the application I submitted. I can see some decision information here as well. As I'm applying, I get the ability to add collaborators. So if I'm the named applicant, but I'd like to invite others to help me complete my application form, I can invite collaborators and give them access to the portal and to my application. And then I have the application form itself that I would have filled out as part of the submission. And on the left-hand side, we can break the application form into different sections. We have a whole bunch of different question types that we can use, whether it's file upload fields, yes, no, drop-down lists, date, time fields, text areas. We have a whole bunch of different data types that we can use to build dynamic forms, which we can then display in the portal to capture information from external users. If I now jump back to my fund inside Klevr Grants, I can go to my Applications tab. and I can see the application here that we've just submitted. Before we open this application, I just wanted to jump to, I'm just going to have to move that down quickly. I'm just going to jump to another product which I have within my product catalog that you guys will get with Klevr Grants in the portal, which is the portal back office tool. This is where you guys can build your own application forms and publish these application forms to the portal. If I open my again my graduate scholarships form and I go to my form editor, I just hide that to give us a bit more room. We can see that I have a designer interface in here to build forms myself within Dynamics. So I have a whole bunch of different question types I can select on the left-hand side. And literally all I need to do is choose a question type and then drag it to where I want to put it on the form. I can give it a title. I can choose whether to make it required. And then I can define a whole bunch of information about it. So is it visible or is it not? Is it read only? What are the conditions? What are the validation information? This is a text field. So do I want my text field to be a number field, a phone number field, an email field, a date and time field? So I can put some validation on the field itself. So I get lots of flexibility as a user of Dynamics to be able to build my own forms and publish these forms myself without relying on a partner or a developer to do this for me. So lots of flexibility with this. Again, what you're seeing here is the portal product used for Klevr Grants, but our portal and our form builder can be used for multiple different scenarios across Dynamics applications. I just jump back to our fund and I'm on my applications tab. I'm just going to open the application that we looked at in the portal. You can see across the top that we've got a business process flow to support the application lifecycle. We receive the application in, we assess the application, we make a decision, we make an offer, and then we're now in our contracting phase of this application. So within Dynamics, I can see who the applicant was, the application round and the fund that they applied to, the project that they applied for. I can start to categorize my applications. We have a submission date, the amount they requested, and the amount that was actually awarded, plus some decisions around our internal decision status and the applicant's decision status. In order to get to these decisions, we've gone through our assessment phase. So again, I can jump across to my assessments tab. And I can see in here that this application has actually gone through 3 different levels of assessment. We did an initial internal assessment, then we went out to an external assessor and we got their feedback, and then we did a final board review and it was approved all the way through, and we can see the amounts that it was approved for. In lots of cases where we have external assessors, we again use our Klevr portal and we have an assessor security role within the portal that allows assessors to log in, view the content of the application form, and fill out their own assessment response form. And all that data again comes back into Klevr Grants for us to view in one place. So this is how we form our assessments area. Another key part of this, which is really important down here, is our conflicts of interest. So as we're creating assessment records, and an assessment record is where we have an assessor joined with the application itself. We are capturing a conflict of interest response from that assessor, and we do that each time an assessment record is created. And in order to do that, we display a small amount of information to the assessor in order for them to know enough about the application to be able to indicate a response. And if I just go under related and go to my conflicts of interest area, there'll be a full audit history of conflicts of interest responses here that we can review and make decisions against. I just drop back to my application. So these are my assessments. This is how we ended up with our internal decisions. And then the next stage, which is what we're in over here, is our contracts phase. So we can see we have a draft contract created for this application. So this is the resulting funding agreement. If I open this record, it'll take me down to our contracts area. This is our contract summary. So again, we see the accounts and the contact is for the applicant. We have the concept in grants of having a contact and a beneficiary. In some scenarios, in a contestable fund process, the money is being paid to an organization or an individual on behalf of a beneficiary, i.e. someone is benefiting from the funding that we're providing, but we're not paying that person directly. So we have the ability to specify a beneficiary. From our contract, we can go all the way back through to the application, the fund, the funding round, the contract, the projects. So all of the data is related, and we can easily navigate by clicking on any of these links to get all the way back up the chain if we needed to. From the fund, we had our fund sources, so we can get all the way back from the contracts into fundraising and engagement and right back into that campaign and those donations that we received from the start. And that's a really important concept, because we want to be able to track the dollar that we received in from our campaign and how we spent that money or how we distributed that money out the other side. And we want to be able to report on that entire journey, so we can go back to our donor database and say, hey, all this money that you provided us as part of this campaign, this is what we've done with it, and this is the impact that it's had. So that journey and being able to see that data related all the way through is a really important concept here. Again, I've got my categorization of my contracts. I have my total amount and my contract terms, as well as the contract document itself. From the summary page, we can jump to financials. Financials allows us to take the amount that we've awarded and break this down into different budget allocations. So we've got $10,000 as our general budget for the contract, and then we've taken some for claims and some for travel. We can then create transactions against each of those different budgets, and we can pay out against those different buckets of money that we're providing. So this gives us some nice reporting again over how we're utilizing the funding that we've awarded as part of this agreement. Next one along from financials is our milestones area. Milestones are where we capture reporting requirements. So this is where we're saying that in order to release the funding or make payments against this funding agreement, what reporting or what milestones does the applicant need to meet to provide us updates on their project initiative or whatever it is that we're providing funding for. So because this is a scholarship scenario, we have one milestone at the moment, which is a proof of education milestone. And if I click into this milestone, again, we can see that we have a process flow across the top. We create the milestone, we approve the milestone and any associated financial transactions that might be linked to this milestone being approved. We then monitor the milestone, which is where we're waiting for the applicant to respond via the portal. We sign off on their response, and then we close the milestone off. Milestones themselves have a due dates. They're also obviously linked back to the contract and the project itself. And we've got our ability to categorize by type and report across this. If need be, milestones can then be broken down further into objectives if you'd like a more granular way of receiving reporting or updates from whoever it is that you're providing funding to. If I just drop back a level, I'm just going to jump to our portal view again. So back as an applicant. We've looked at our apply for funding and the application process. As an applicant or a funding recipient, I can now go into the portal and see my contracts. We have a nice way of creating different views of tables. So active contracts, contracts that might be coming up for renewal or revisions, all contracts. And then I can click into one of these records to see some information. Again, this is displaying data directly from Dynamics as well. We don't actually store any data behind the portal itself. We read from and write directly to the the Dynamics ecosystem. I can see that contract document that we had on the record as well, and I can click on this document and download a copy. I can see the milestones that I need to respond to, and I can see any transactions that I have associated to this particular contract. Now, what's important to mention on here is that this is configured purely for this demo. The portal is completely customizable. We can choose what data we want to display from Dynamics applications. We can choose what our menu items are across the top. We can choose how we sort and filter different records, and all that can be achieved without writing any code. We can do that purely by going into an admin area behind the portal. And again, we get a nice designer interface where we can create pages and we can define the layout of the pages. And that's important because in some scenarios, we actually don't want to show the funding recipient all of their individual transactions. We might only want to show them their milestones and deliverables. In other situations, we do want to show them their transactions, and we may even want the applicant to interact with these transactions. We have a lot of scenarios where the applicant needs to come in, open a transaction and provide an invoice and submit that invoice to be reviewed within Klevr grants by you guys, and then that needs to be approved before it's paid. So lots of flexibility with how we can configure the portal to meet various different funding scenarios. We have a whole bunch of functionalities to support the life cycle of the contract as well. When the contract is active, we can create contract revisions and contract renewals. We have a revisions tab up here. Everything is audited, so every time we take a revision of the contract, we take a whole snapshot of everything, the contract, the financials, the milestone statuses, and we store that away, which means that you can report over all the different revisions that have happened in the contract's life cycle. We can suspend contracts, we can cancel contracts. There's a whole bunch of auditing and reason codes and things to support that process as well. And as with everything in Dynamics and all the pages we've seen, all that functionality is controlled by security roles and permissions as well. So we provide the right users with the right functionality across each application. And that probably brings us to the end of the demo today. I will say this is a very small piece of our Klevr grant solution, and an even smaller piece of Microsoft's Cloud for Nonprofit and their fundraising and engagement application. There is a whole bunch more functionality within both of those applications that would love to show anyone that is interested. So please do reach out if you would like to find out more information about these solutions. I'll hand back to you, Fareed.
Thank you, Luke. Happy for any of you to potentially add a message on chat. I can, allow either audio or video access, and we can have a conversation if that helps. And while we wait for a chat, Luke, one of the things that I did want to ask was, would you be able to touch upon communication, in the perspective of the overall solution, right? I think, for example, whether that's communicating with constituents or applicants or even external assessors, for example.
We're talking via the timeline communication.
Or just some options available, right? Whether that might be the timeline or an email template or the ability to add an external assessor or even a customer journey.
Absolutely.
Probably don't need to show all of it, but certainly I'm sure
I'll reshare my
the group
screen.
will be interested.
Yeah, I'll reshare my screen to you just so I can click through a few things as well. In most areas of Dynamics solutions and in most areas of Klevr grants, we have an activities tab on records, which is the timeline. Timelines are awesome. They basically show you all interactions that have happened with this particular record. We can put things on the timeline as different events happen. So in the context of a contract, for example, when a contract is activated or revised or suspended, we can stamp those things on the timeline so you can see what's happening. But you guys can also create and add items to the timeline yourself. And a couple of important ones is the ability to record phone calls and create appointments and emails from this area as well. Now, if you create an email from here, you just click on it actually, you'll be taken to an email screen that was very much like an email would in Outlook. You can choose who you're sending it to. You can copy people in. You can populate a subject and a body copy to the email, or you can insert a predefined email template, which you guys can manage from the settings area yourselves. That email template can contain email attachments, and then we can send this email from within Dynamics. Now, to the recipient, that's going to look like it's come from me, from my global admin user. So to whoever we're communicating with, it just looks like a normal email, and they can respond to that email within Outlook. That response will come to my Outlook account, into my standard inbox, and I can continue to email back and forth via Outlook if I choose to. But that entire thread is tracked into Dynamics and is visible on the timeline as well. So that gives me the ability to use Outlook, which I'm familiar with, but it creates visibility across the organization. It records that communication within here. Exactly the same with booking appointments. I can book an appointment, a Teams call from within Dynamics. It goes on the timeline, but appears in my Outlook calendar. If I make changes in Outlook, it changes things in Dynamics as well. Over on the right-hand side, we are tightly coupled with Teams. So I can start a Teams, not signed in, but I can start a Teams chat within Dynamics about this particular record. And that whole communication can be handled within Teams, but I know that that communication is tracked to the timeline as well. So again, we're breaking down some of those silos, but allowing users to still work in tools that they're familiar with. So there's some of the key communication options that we have within all Dynamics 365 applications, whether they're a Klevr solution or a Dynamics first-party app. And then if we were to bring Dynamics customer insights or marketing into the mix as well, we start to enrich that even further with the ability to create email templates based on a library of media collateral that we've created as an organization, and to apply different forms of communication, whether it's email, text messages, social media posts, into a customer journey, and we can target communication at different points, and that can be over a schedule, or it can depend or be dependent on how that particular person has interacted with us. So this goes right back to the start on what Karen was showing you around the new view of being able to see the likelihood of donors interacting with your organization and being able to create that segment. That segment is a dynamic list of people that we want to communicate with, and we use that segment and apply it to a customer journey, and we define how and when we're going to communicate with that person, and from that point it's completely automated. So a nice example from a fundraising engagement side is that if someone makes a donation over a certain amount, they might automatically fall into like say a mid-tier donor segment. And that mid-tier donor segment might have a customer journey flow that says, is this the first time that this donor has made a donation? And if it is, let's send them a bunch of information about us as an organization and the impact that they're going to have by making that donation. If it's not, then let's send them some different communication that says, thank you for your donation. We've noticed X amount of activity within your profile. We're now going to communicate with you in a different way. So it's a really nice example because it shows the power of the Dynamics platform and how we can bring different applications together across a common data model, a common data source, and we can really get that end-to-end life cycle through whether it's interaction or whether it's through the distribution of funding money or whether it's through constituent and donor management.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate that, mate. And with everything that Luke just mentioned, if it makes sense to dig deeper into those particular elements of the end-to-end solution as well, happy to schedule some time in to have those conversations. Richard, you've just put in a couple of questions in the chat window. So does the portal support any document management capabilities? So that's one. The other is, sorry, maybe you start with that, Lou.
I can start with that one. Yeah. So yeah, the portal absolutely supports document management. Our portal out of the box integrates directly into SharePoint. And it also integrates into different forms of Azure storage if we're dealing with larger, heavier files such as videos and images and sound clips and things like that. So we get two different options depending on the type of file that we're storing. And we obviously also integrate directly into standard Dynamics file storage as well if need be.
And I think another question is, if we happen to have similar funding opportunities, is there a way to build templates into the system?
Yes. So along with the core Klevr solution, we have a suite of Klevr utilities. Those utilities provide bits of functionality that we've determined as being useful that we can apply to different areas of the solution. One of those is the ability to copy records. So this gives us the option to create a template, for example, like maybe like a contract template that has a predefined set of milestones and a predefined set of deliverables that we use really often. So we can create a template and then we can use our copy function to create a copy of that contract template each time we want to create a new record. So it saves you some of the manual data entry if you've got some common funding scenarios.
And you could utilize that for creating copies of campaign templates in the fundraising engagement application, or
Absolutely.
application templates as
Yeah.
well that you'd like to reuse for multiple funding rounds and even assessment templates.
Yeah, absolutely. So our Klevr utilities, the same as our Klevr portal, they're solution agnostic. They can be used across any Dynamics application. There's things like the copy function. We have a whole like record approval mechanism as a utility. We have field lockers, so we can lock fields depending on certain statuses of records. I think there's about 9 or 10 different solutions that we've got within that utility suite at the moment, but you can apply them to any Dynamics application.
Thanks, Lou. Ian, I think you've added a question in the Q&A section. So that's, is it possible to communicate with applicants through the portal? For instance, if they've missed some information on their report submission, can I add a comment that they can see?
Yeah, so a whole bunch of different ways that we can handle communication, but also handle that specific scenario that you just mentioned. So within our applications area and within the assessments area, we have the ability to raise supplementary information requests. So for that particular scenario, you may want to go down that route because it's more formal. You're creating a record and attaching a form that the applicant can respond to, and it goes as like an appendix or an extra item against their application. So it's a little bit more structured, a little bit more formal. If you're just talking about general communication, then yeah, we absolutely can. This goes back to the timeline feature that we looked at, where we could create emails and tasks. We can create posts as a record in that timeline, and those posts can be visible in the portal, and they can be viewed and responded to via the portal applicant as well. So that gives you a nice mechanism to communicate via the to use it in the portal, but it keeps it all in a single place. It keeps it all with your emails. It keeps it with your appointments, your phone calls, your Teams messages, and it's all in that timeline and in that order. And that timeline is you've got the ability to sort and filter and view what you need to on that timeline. So if you wanted to filter it by just portal posts, then it's really easy to do that as well.
Ian, did that answer your question? I've just enabled both your video and your mic if you'd like to jump on and talk that through.
Yes, that's really good. Thanks, Luke.
Awesome, thank you.
We've got another 8 minutes to go. I might just take a couple of minutes to talk about the needs assessment workshops that Microsoft have kindly made available. So They've made $4,500 available for each organization to go into a little bit of detail. Uh, with the help of Walkerscott, for everyone who's joined us today. I will be dropping an email with the deck and the recording from today's call, so you've got that information, and you can simply reply to me to arrange for that. It's really compelling. We find a lot of our organizations that we work with do leverage the needs assessment workshop. We'll use it as a way to understand your key requirements better, dig a little deeper into how the dynamics solutions, both on the CRM side as well as on the ERP side, once payments kind of flow through, and the Klevr Grants solution can be leveraged to drive efficiencies within your organization. And of course, scale your impact as well. If there aren't any other questions, I might just give you 10 minutes of your time back. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today and investing your time with us. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Karan. Appreciate both of your inputs today. Look forward to seeing you all again on a webinar not too far away.
So thank you, everyone. Cheers for joining.
Thanks, everybody, for joining today. Thank you.